What would your business's revenue look like if you never lost a client? That's what I want to talk about today, is retention. How to keep clients. Clients leave sometimes for things that are fully within your control. Sometimes they leave for reasons that are outside of your control. And then other times they just leave for no apparent reason and they don't even know why they left. So we're going to go into just some of the common ones and what to do about it. Here's a big one. And this kind of goes with the previous training on ascension. What have you done for me lately? This is something that happens in all client relationships where they start to take for granted the results that you're giving them. They start thinking, maybe I can get this somewhere else. Maybe you're not actually doing a great job. Maybe there's some way that this could be done cheaper. Maybe you're taking advantage of me. It comes in a variety of forms, but it's all around this idea that value does not stay consistent in a client's mind. If they ask for, let's just throw out a random thing. If they ask for you to get them 100 customers every single month, and you get them 100 customers every single month, at some point, they're going to say, well, I think for the same amount of money, you should be getting me more than 100 customers. Or they'll say, okay, yeah, I know we asked for 100 customers, but it's not enough. We want more. Or they start thinking, oh, the 100 customers aren't very good customers. The 100 customers you're sending me are just not the kind of customers we would really like to have. Whatever the reason is, they start devaluing the very value that they want and even need for their company. They mentally start doing this. This is just a human psychology issue. It happens all the time. We do it in our personal lives too. We do it in every aspect of life. Humans, when we get used to a thing, we start believing that thing has less value. People go out, buy a luxury car. For the first couple of weeks, they're like, yes, this thing is so awesome. I love this car. It's so much better than my regular car that I had before. But after a few weeks, it's just a car. It just gets them from point A to point B. They've taken for granted the elevation in value that they've gotten. They no longer feel that it's as valuable as it was when they first got it. Why is that? I don't really know. I'm not a psychologist. But we do know that this is behavior that happens all the time, and it happens even in a B2B client relationship. It will happen. So what do? Well, in the Ascension video, I talked about finding new ways to add value to the client and doing so before they get to the point where they start asking you, what have you done for me lately? You've got to find ways to add value to your client long before that ever happens. That doesn't necessarily mean you just keep adding to the service that they're paying for and definitely not charging more for adding that additional value, but finding new ways to ascend them to a higher level of value that they're more than happy to pay for. They may continue to pay for the one thing that they asked you for and then buy this other thing that gives them a new value, maybe a bigger value, or even something that's the same level, but just another value, so that every time they think of you, they think that they're getting more value, that they're always gaining value by having a relationship with you. Next one is the hassle factor. And this is a big one. And this is definitely a big one for service businesses because, well, how do you sell the invisible? Services, in most cases, are never seen unless it's something like you have a janitorial service and you come in and clean their office. Sure, the desk is clean, the trash is taken out, the floors are clean, everything's dusted. That's visible. But in most types of B2B professional services, such as digital marketing, and even in, say, IT and security and things like that, they don't see the actual thing. They only see some remnants of the results. So in digital marketing, maybe they'll only measure you on the actual result that you get them, say more customers or more market share or more engagement with their audience, whatever they're asking for. Maybe you get to use that as your thing that shows that you're actually selling them something. But in most services, most of the service is invisible to the client. What we do in service businesses is try to show them, we're doing lots of stuff for you. We're doing lots of stuff. We're doing lots of stuff. Going back to the what have you done with me lately, we as service providers, we understand that we need to be highlighting value or we're not going to retain the client. But many times we end up becoming an annoying pest where we're giving them information that they don't even care about. And so we start becoming a hassle factor. Or there's something that is missing. We have poor processes and the client has to ask us, where's my deliverable? That's a guaranteed way to lose a client. Another hassle factor is having meeting upon meeting. Here's a psychological thing with clients. They believe that they should be able to hand you money, say what they want as a result, and then never have to interact with you. In many cases, they'll interact with you, but deep down, they're still thinking, I shouldn't even have to talk to you. You're an expert. I should just be able to give you money, tell you what I want, and then it just show up miraculously without any input from me. Even though I am the client, I am the expert in this field, and you are an expert in your particular field. We need to work as a team. They never see it that way. And if you ever get one of those issues, what I want you to do is say, do you do that to your employees? Do you just hand them a paycheck and then never pay any attention to what they're doing and just demand that they do amazing results? Do you not engage in the culture? Do you not bring them into team meetings? Do you not work with them intimately? Well, in some cases, that's true, and you probably don't want this client. But that's not how people behave with their employees. But for some strange reason with vendors, they assume the vendor should be able to do things without any input from the company. So you've got to eliminate that thing that they perceive as a hassle factor. Partnership. They see partnership as a hassle factor. You've got to find a way to eliminate that. Get them to see you as somebody they need to work with. Now, the next one is disloyalty. They leave because, well, some competitor of yours came along, said, we can give you the same result or even a better result, and we can do it cheaper, faster, better, whatever the offer was. Unfortunately, sometimes that's actually true. Many times it's not, that the thing that you're giving is a great value cost-wise and is getting them what they're after and maybe even exceeding their expectations, and yet they'll still go test the water somewhere else. Someone will come along and give them this view of greener grass on the other side of the fence. So you have to protect against that. Again, going back to always providing higher value and showcasing the higher value that you're always bringing to your client. Then the other is your own branding. If your client isn't absorbed into your brand, if they don't buy fully into your brand, they will be disloyal. Odds are you watching this do not have a brand. You've not put any real effort into positioning your company and engaging your client into the story that is your business. You've probably done very little of that. Part of what you're watching, let's get a little meta here. Part of what you're watching is ingraining you into my perspective of the world, my perspective of doing business. And that shows you, here's my brand. This is who I am. You get to see me. You're engaging with this content. The cool part of that is, if you agree with what I'm saying, then you will think I am a very good person to have as a vendor for your business. That's what branding does. Branding gets people to know, like, and trust you, and then really buy into it so that when a when a competitor comes along, they just say, oh, well, you really have to step way above and beyond because the vendor I'm working with now, they do great results. And on top of that, on top of doing great results, we believe in it. You know, we're Apple people. We're not PC people. So you've got to find a way to engage people beyond just your service. You've got to bring them into your culture. All right, next one, not providing the real value that they actually want. But and here's the thing, they might not even be able to verbalize it. They may not even know what it is. And you are providing them the value that they asked for, or one that was superficially defined, where you could find it, they could find it, and you could easily agree on this, and you're like, that's the value. And then you start your engagement and you start working on it. But then they start getting unhappy. They're like, this isn't really solving it. And many times, and I've worked with a lot of clients in a variety of industries, that they could not verbalize what the actual thing that they were after. It was like some sort of magical dust that they just could not think of what it was. This happens a lot. And if a client can't verbalize it and you don't dive deep into their business, you're never going to get past that superficial value and understand what the true nature, the true results that they're actually after. You won't know it, and your client will start feeling uneasy. They'll start questioning it. They'll start going back to the, what have you done for me lately? They'll start entertaining competitors' offers. They'll start looking at, they may even start thinking that you're a hassle to deal with because you keep doing all these things, but it's not getting down to what they feel. What they feel is the thing they're after. So you have to dive deep into your clients. You have to go deep into their business and understand what they're really after. And this goes back to convincing a client to be ingrained into your culture, being able to see you as more than a vendor, but to see you as an actual partner in the growth of their company, in the solutions of solving pain problems inside of their business. You've got to get them to see that, or you'll never be able to find the true underlying thing that they're after. If you don't go looking for it, eventually you'll lose that client. Okay, here's another one. Has nothing to do with the numbers, has nothing to do with how good you are, nothing to do with the results that you're providing. And this one, I think, is probably the most common why a client leaves, and that is not feeling heard. Did you even hear a word I said? They're never going to say that to you, but they will talk to you, and you will respond back with whatever it is that you have. You know, this kind of falls under the subcategory of hassle factor. Are you a big hassle to deal with? And anytime they don't feel heard, they don't feel like you understand what it is that they really want. And this goes back to what I was just saying about the true underlying value that they're really after. Not the superficial one that they're paying you for, but the one underneath that they may not even be able to verbalize. That is what they're actually after. And so they'll talk to you and they'll tell you things. And so you've got to read between the lines. You've got to interpret what they're saying. You've got to dive deep into their business to try to comprehend what is it that they really mean? What is it that they really desire? What pain are they really feeling? And they are going to try to communicate it with you. And here's the problem with that. We all have egos and we try to protect ourselves. We don't want to feel vulnerable. We don't want to show what our real problems are to anyone, especially a vendor that I'm paying money to. I don't want to show you all the warts and all the scars and all the problems that I have. I'm going to hide some of them from you. I'm going to get defensive, and I need to protect that. But I still need you to solve my problems, so I'm going to give you coded language. to try to get you to what I'm after without harming my own ego, without making me feel bad about myself. You've got to kind of become a psychologist. You've got to look at their behavior, look at what they're saying, and find a way to answer the questions that they're trying to convey. You have to find a way to make them feel heard, feel understood about the engagement that they've hired you for. Do those things. Keep going through this. Find ways to engage deeper. Bring people into your culture. Bring people into your story. And always find ways to add higher value. Eliminate all the hassle factors. Every interaction that you have with a client, list them. List all the interactions from your ads all the way to the time they finally leave. What kind of interactions do they have? Who do they interact with in your company? What jobs do they interact with? And figure out, are we causing any hassle along the way? Are we hearing our client at every step of the way? If you can do that, you are going to have far greater retention.